Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along on Everyday Off-Road, you know that we own a 2004 TJ. Got a lot done to it, a lot of which has been shown here on the channel. So today we're wondering, how close are we to being done with this thing, or are we done with this thing? So stay tuned as we find out. So as you guys may know, we just upgraded to 37s on our 2004 TJ Wrangler. We got a Dana 44 out back in place of the Dana 35. Done a lot of recent work to it, including the moto-built Highline fenders, a bunch of other stuff we've done to get ready to wheel this thing on the 37. So today's question is this thing done? And if you're a fellow Jeep owner, you know that they're never actually 100% done. But as far as major items, that's really what we're talking about today: axles, wheels, tires, transfer case, all that kind of stuff. So main answer to the question today is no, it's not done. However, we are very close. We've done a lot of things to this recently, including the Highline fenders, everything to get ready for these 37s. We actually got away with not having to cut any in the back. Obviously, the front is a total fender replacement. Got brand new KMC grenades on here, 37-inch Netto trail grapplers. We got this thing pretty well set up. We got some heavy duty steering up front by Curry. Got the anti-rock on here, sitting on a 4.5-inch lift. For any of you that are new to the channel, just recently uploaded the video on the oil pan skid down there. Got all protected underneath. So what else is left on this thing? Really, we're gonna hop right into it. Gonna kind of go in order of the way that I think I want to finish the build on here. And let's just talk for a minute before we get into that, really what my end goal for this Jeep is. We may have hit on it previously in a different video. Really, the end goal for this Jeep is not to be a buggy. I never wanted this thing to be a buggy. Really what I mean by that is like 10-inch, 12-inch stretch, 40s, just doesn't even look like a TJ anymore. That's not what I want for this platform. And if we ever build anything like that, it will be a different Jeep. Like I mentioned before, this is my first TJ that I have really built up like this, and I never wanted it to lose that classic TJ look. I know we've chopped the front up. By classic TJ look, I really mean the length. I don't want to comp cut it. Josh's 5-inch stretch looks pretty good. You can pull off a small stretch back here without making it look like a complete rock bouncer. But anyway, we want to keep this looking like a classic TJ, yet be very capable at the same time. So really what my end goal for this thing is to be sitting on two Dana 44s. We've got the tire size we want, which is 37 1250s, as I already mentioned. So two Dana 44s, 37s, we've got the Highlines, and really the only remaining thing is part of the video today. So we're gonna hop right into the order that I wanna finish this thing, but just really wanted to hit on, I wanna keep this thing looking like a TJ. So it's gonna be kind of a reasonable build, yet very capable. So number one on kind of a short-term list to do, gonna redo the suspension. We've got a 4.5-inch Rubicon Express short arm kit on here. It's called the Superflex because it has a rubber bushing end on the frame side and what Rubicon Express calls their flex joint on the axle side. And the flex joint really is designed to mimic the Johnny joint from Curry. And that takes me into what we're gonna move to. For a while, I thought that I wanted to go long arm kit on this. After doing a lot of hard research, I've read a ton on the forums, watched a lot of videos, gotten a lot of opinions on it from people that have wheeled twice as long as I have. We're going to stick with a short arm. That may kind of surprise you for the wheeling we do. But unless you do the Rock Crawler long arm kit, which really tucks everything up in here, the Rock Crawler comes with triangulated 4-link in the rear, and then a 3-link up front. That requires a rear truss, most likely a front truss, basically gutting everything we have, including our new skids, starting fresh with the Rock Crawler skids, Rock Crawler cross member, all 4 arms, excuse me, probably 4 arms in the back and then 3 in the front. So all the arms, you're looking at 7-8K worth of work to gut this suspension, go to a long arm. We don't want to do that. And also, all the long arms are going to use a little bit of your clearance. Now, the rock crawler, the reason I like it is because it uses the least. It seems to tuck the arms up in there really, really good, and so you don't lose much of your vertical clearance. But even with the rock crawler kit, you lose a little bit of clearance right in here because you got the arm coming through there. So that's been kind of weighing on me a little bit. There are more long arm options out there, like Ruby Express makes a conversion kit for the lift we actually have. Not crazy on the look of those, and they hang down even more. I think they would actually hang down more than the barn skid does now. So kind of got turned off of the long arm idea. What we're going to be doing instead is upgrading all of our control arms and our springs to Curry. That's kind of my final decision on what we want to do. I may or may not have actually already ordered the lower control arms from Curry, mostly because we're having some issues up front. Every time we go wheeling, I'm having to tighten these control arms. And I think we've got some bushings worn out up here, so it's a good time to go ahead and order the lowers. I just ordered the lowers. Curry's very expensive stuff. We're going to swap all of our control arms out for Curry. The main reason behind that, other than Curry's fantastic reputation, they are made in the USA. They back everything they do. I'm a little worried because I think Rubicon Express is actually run mostly through Full Wheel Parts. I think that's about the only place you can get their stuff. And our local Full Wheel Parts actually went out of business. So I'm not sure if Rubicon Express will eventually be obsolete or not. But it's just going to be a good thing to go ahead and upgrade to Curry. My goal behind that is, like I mentioned before, the quality of the arms. Also, what I mentioned, you got two Johnny joints at either end. Right now we've got a fixed end with a rubber bushing and then a flex joint on the axle end. So really you're only getting some rotational movement for your articulation in the suspension out of the axle end. So with two Johnny joints, we should be able to flex the thing a little bit better, and it already flexes amazing. But we're going for perfection here, and I think Curry will give us that. The other thing we're getting from Curry for our suspension is new coils. These have actually been really good coils. I've been fairly happy with them. I think they gave a true 4.5-inch lift. Some of the ones you get and put on the Jeep and then set the weight of the Jeep down on it, and it actually compresses some and doesn't give you the full height of the advertised lift. Cough, cough, rough country. But anyway, these have been good coils. My problem with them is they're a single rate, which means you see the gap between each spring here. It stays the same all the way from the top down to the bottom. The problem with that is when you get off-road flexing a lot, since you only have one rate, they can either be very stiff or too soft. And then when you flex up, a lot of times we pick up a coil because it doesn't have that tight compression rate up here at the top to absorb a lot of that flex. So we've been picking up a coil a lot and unseating it out of the bucket, and every time that happens off-road, it makes a loud clanging sound almost, is the best way to describe it. So since we're going to all 8 Curry arms, we're going to go ahead and do Curry springs as well. No reason not to. Then we will be completely 100% Curry suspension on the thing. So that's number 1 on kind of the short-term list. I believe we will get that done probably this year, maybe early 24. Number 2 on the list is kind of a major item, so I'm not exactly sure when it's going to happen, but it's a major thing that is drastically going to change the way that I off-road in this, and that this thing is performing, especially on steep hills, rocks, and all that. And that is going to either an Atlas transfer case or a Rubicon case out of a Rubicon TJ. Both will fit. Now by Atlas, I don't mean the one with double low with like a 7-to-1 gear reduction. That's not the one we're talking about, because that one is a huge case. You've got to cut a lot in here to make it fit. It's just a little bit too much work for me. I'm not sure if I'd be comfortable doing that by myself. And the goal of this thing is to build it how you guys could build it. I know you like following along, so we're trying to keep this thing somewhat realistic. So the Atlas case I want is the 2-speed 4.3-to-1. These are a 2.72-to-1, or basically a 3-to-1. gear reduction in the stock transfer case on the TJs. So we'd be gaining a good bit by going to a 4.3 to 1. The main reason that I want it is because of that over there, the 5-speed. If we had an automatic, it probably wouldn't be as high on my priority list. But since we've gotten into so much technical stuff here lately, kind of upped our wheeling level a little bit as far as difficulty as a group, which I greatly enjoy. I wouldn't have it any other way. But it's getting kind of hard to climb in this thing, really having to feather the clutch. I just put a new clutch in 2 years ago, and I don't want to blow through clutches like crazy sitting there trying to get gearing on the trail. So going to an Atlas case would be a great addition to this thing. I know I mentioned as well the possibility of a Rubicon case, and the Rubicon cases that came in the TJ are a factory 4 to 1 ratio, so not quite as much gear gain as an Atlas. But it would be enough to where it'd be worth it if we could find one for a decent cost, like on Marketplace, or anybody parting out a Rubicon on eBay. So it's something to look into, but compared to the cost of an Atlas, getting a Rubicon case can be very expensive. They're very rare to find in a good condition. So by the time you get a Rubicon case and get a shifter that would work with it and all that, you may as well just buy an Atlas at that point. So that's why we are good with either option there. So that's really our number 2, is get more gearing by changing the transfer case out. Number 3, and the final thing until I proclaim this thing done major item wise, upgrading the Dana 30. We've talked about that plenty in other videos. I'm not going to go too into detail. You guys know what we're running up here. This isn't a stock Dana 30 by any means. We've got it beefed up enough to handle 37s. Seems like it's going to do fine, at least temporarily. Long term though, we want to get that swapped out. I had a great experience ordering through Fusion for the 44 back here when we decided that the Dana 35 was going to go bye-bye. We ordered a Fusion Dana 44. Had a great experience ordering from them. Axle came bolt-in ready. If I knew that I needed a shorter drive shaft and had that available, we would have swapped it in literally 2 days. Anyway, with the drive shaft, Tom Woods was great. We got that thing swapped in 3 or 4 days time. It wasn't any big deal. So we would go back with a Fusion 44 up here, basically the matching front axle to the rear, kind of make it a set. And that just gives you the beefier housing, the beefier C's over here, bigger ring gear, just kind of everything you would want for a beefier front axle. At that point, folks, I think I would proclaim this thing done as far as major items. I don't know what else I would want done to this thing, because pretty much anything past that would require cutting the tub. Any bigger size tires than we've already got, you see we're already getting into the back here pretty good. So anything beyond this would really need a stretch, which would therefore redo the entire suspension again. And the gas tank back here would also need to be either go to a fuel cell or get a Genrite tank that allows you to stretch. So I think 244s on this current setup with a different transfer case in here is our end goal. I think it's very attainable. We're certainly not going to rush anything. The thing wheels great now. No reason really to mess with it much further as far as wheelbase, any of that complicated stuff. That's just, there's no need. Just wheel it, have fun with it. Simple upgrades, keep it looking like a TJ, and have one of the cleanest TJs on the trail. That's kind of our goal. We're never going to be on bouncer hills or anything like that. So now you guys are kind of updated on future plans for the thing, really where my end goal is with it. And the major answer to the video is definitely no, we are not done, but we are very close. So that's it, guys. Sorry if I got a little long-winded on some of that. Real passionate about the TJs, if you can't tell, so love talking TJ with you guys. Hope you guys stick around for the next video. We've got a lot more coming. Thanks for watching Everyday Off-Road. See you in the next video.